say, or I say something stupid in front of the media, and it gets printed and gets people mad. And I know I'm not the only libertarian who does that. There's plenty of others that do that. To me, we have to accept the fact that we're not all going to be perfect, and what we need to look forward to is, rather than a fight of 10 versus 10 at a county or state meeting, or 400 versus the other 400 at our national meeting, we need to have bigger battles at all levels. So we need 1,000 folks at the national convention on this side, 1,000 folks on this convention, and on the other side arguing over how to get things done. Instead of 20 people at the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire convention arguing or fighting over who's to be state chair, we need to have 200 versus 200, or 190 versus 210, whatever the case may be. Don't worry too much about. I used to tell people, don't worry too much about profession. Don't worry that there's one or two bad actors that really bother you. We just have to focus on growth. And the one thing I've seen turn local and state parties around is recruiting candidates to run for various levels of office. It gives activists something to do. And if you just had 1 or 2 candidates running for something in one election cycle, if you can go to 5 or 10 in the next election cycle, that's what puts you on the map. And the public notices you more. They see. Their spouse would show up at the polls, their children would show up, their friends and relatives would show up, and all over the place, all these people were running, and each of them would bring in extra voters. And suddenly the political complexion of Massachusetts flipped 180 degrees, and Massachusetts became what is now one of the most democratic states in the Union, so that at one recent point, of the 40 state senators, 3 were Republicans. Of the 160 state representatives, at one point we were down to 23 or 27 were Republicans, the rest were Democrats pretty much. And guess what? That happened, and one of the things you do is run vast numbers of candidates for office. Now, I agree with what Wes said, that there are other things that need to be done. I should point out that historically we've had other strategies. If you go back to about the year 2000, there was a contrary strategy which was described as membership recruitment. And the objective of membership recruitment was to take all the money national could gather and states could gather and use it to recruit members for national. In fact, the documents that proposed this, which was almost an inch thick, included the comment that running candidates for office was a bad idea because it distracted time and resources and money from membership recruitment. That idea then pulled up well and said we have Wes's fine idea. There are other things we can be doing. So maybe I should pose this the next question. Okay, well, one of our favorite blood sport, what should we be doing between elections? Running candidates, that may sound kind of odd, right? Let me give an example. So in early 2016, March 2016, I announced the campaign for governor 2 years early. Why did I do that? I did that because we were going to have, when we looked at what the campaign was, I discovered that my announcement, nothing else was happening, that people give me lots of statewide coverage, and they did. I could also organize people. As a candidate, I was able, for a lot of times, I was able to recruit other people to run. And the result of we had other people's efforts, so we had more history of the state party. By far. So it made sense. That's really going out there. They're really, if you're announcing what plan to run for office, we might as well keep recruiting. And also, don't get the local offices. So this year, 2017, is a time where the state legislative congressional races, elections, right? And city council races in many states are open. All kinds of positions for people to run, get experience in, all kinds of things to recruit. Another thing is to make sure that the local movements and state party does not fall apart in the off-year election. That's one thing that I've watched happen over and over again. You build something to a campaign, people go down and they there's nothing to do with the social aspect of it. Whether it be a convention every year or some social event that people come to, and we stay networked together and we come back later on. It is also critical because that's the best thing we want is all these people put all this effort and then you don't capitalize on it. You don't have the combat back of it because you just let it all go. That's something we don't want to have happen. Especially critical as we get local county affiliates too, that they don't start to do that. They have to reform, re-affiliate every couple of years whenever there's an election going on. Of course, I support anything that's in running and no candidates for longer periods of time. There are some other things that we're going to do during that. During the slower times, a lot of legislators are meeting. It's new folks who decide elected, and the Libertarian Party can be the state party officially, or it can just be individual activists who go down and testify at the legislature in favor of bills that are Libertarian friendly or against bills that are not Libertarian friendly. I know a lot of folks are doing that currently in Texas. They've done it in Virginia these days, and it does provide some visibility beyond just campaign season. And it's something where we actually sometimes do impact legislation that's going on. So obviously that's great. We do something to change what legislation passes. That's great. And believe it or not that many people show up and lobby the legislature on a lot of issues. Certainly where some companies going to get millions and millions, they've already got that lobbying taken care of. But there's more simple things that come up. Maybe it's a property rights issue or decriminalizing marijuana or just election laws that might hurt or help a third party. Where if a few people show up and say stuff, it actually can kill or help a bill pass. So I encourage that. And also, if you do that and succeed, simply talking about that, or even if you go and advocate for something and fail, now you've got a reason to run for state legislature the next election season. You can show up and say, look, I asked the legislature to pass this bill. It was going to lower taxes or decriminalize marijuana. They didn't vote for it. My legislator didn't vote for it. What's up there? Democrats are supposed to be for helping like the National Party, we are upgrading our websites, databases, things that we have time to do now that we definitely won't have time once it's time for national conventions and candidates running nationwide. You can take a little bit of slow time, let your activists breathe a little bit, go to ball games instead of doing politics a little bit, and get some of that infrastructure and preparation work out of the way. But it won't be long before it's time to start recruiting. I mean, it's never too early, but soon we're all going to be in recruiting mode again to get folks to run for 2018. Let me suggest, we got a few questions coming up, and then we'll get the audience. Let me suggest there are several things you do between elections. One of them could be described as local organization. And then you have a group of people to get together. The important thing, if you're going to get together, they have something they are going to do. And it might be that it is crocheting. God help us, I can't crochet. It might be that you fill out the postcards. Postcards are pretty cheap to mail these days. And you can write hand address postcards to state legislators, or even to supporters of oppose some piece of legislation. And they all have written postcards, and since they're handwritten, those email stuff has very little weight. Written letters in envelopes have more weight. Someone has to hold it. When you get something that's handwritten, that's a message implicitly that whoever did it thought was really important because they had to think about it, do work to send it. The longest libertarian group in Massachusetts is Pioneer Valley Libertarian Association. We've been around since the early 90s. There's several statewide groups that have alternated as to which groups exist, and they've been around too. And one of the reasons we've lasted so long is for many years we published a newsletter. We sent out the newsletter to considerable numbers of people, and the member showed up, and he actually hand collated and hand stapled and stuffed in envelopes or sealed and all those other good things. The newsletter, and that meant we were doing something, and that was very positive for getting people to show up, because they knew they were actually going to accomplish something positive, not just sit around and argue philosophy. Another thing that we could do, and this is something that needs to be done on a large scale, is what is known as shifting the ownership window. And I'll get to that in a moment, but first I'd like to get our folks here to discuss what do you do to build up local organizations, groups that will cover cities or towns. Massachusetts doesn't have county government anymore for the most part, so we can't organize counties in a sensible way. Run candidates for local office, show people how to do that. What do you actually do to push that forward?
I was actually very interesting. We have 99 county, we have a county for every person that lives in the state, it seems like. We have one number of counties, so what many of them will do is they will form by either congressional district or areas in the immediate area that makes sense. So after if you have some counties with just a few thousand people in it, so they have just a handful of libertarians. One thing that they do is we encourage them to have social before they meet, and we can actually discuss what they're going to do politically. That's a good first step to start. And as time progresses, they're expected to actually fundraise locally for county fairs or local events that they have. Those are all critical that they take part in. They are responsible for recruiting their local candidates, publishing their events that they want to have, letting their members and supporters know they're going to have these events, and then finding local legislation that they all work within that group, whether it be at a town level or a county level. They all kind of support each other. They all do the parades, they all work together against local legislation whenever it needs. They can also do outreach within the community. They can put those resources together and work and expand. One thing that is going to Facebook advertisements as well. If they're interested, we've had pretty good success bringing people into events for county organizations, and maybe candidates can use them as well. If they make an announcement or a stop somewhere, if you events are good, people like to look at your people that like like-minded things as well. Make sure they see it on there. A lot of people attend to get people who respect it.
So your question was about local organizing, like what can we do during the time of fall? Generate the organization. So after joining the party in 96 and paying my $25 or whatever it was and reading about it, I decided to get active. And so how do you get active? You go to some meeting and participate. So I went to one meeting in Michigan. I didn't do much because I was still in school at that time. I went to this meeting in Georgia, and it was the Cobb County Georgia Libertarians. I found out about the meeting in a newsletter or maybe on the website. And I went, and there were two men there. And they were nice enough men, but that's not uncommon to go to libertarian meetings and find two libertarian men sitting here talking to each other. And so they talked to me too. And I went, came back a second and third time, and I was starting to get frustrated. I'm like, I want to do something, and here we are, the three of us have met, and we've gone from 2 attendees to 3 attendees in 3 weeks or 3 months. We got to do something more. And they said, we can do some outreach booths. We did some of that. But the other thing I did was they gave me the list of the membership list. It was for people from Cobb County, and I had never phoned people and invited them to anything. I never been a Cub Scout leader, team leader. That wasn't the thing. That wasn't my style. I call people up or invite them stuff. But I got the list. This was in the late 90s when everyone was overrun with email already. They were getting that way. But I just started sending emails to folks saying, hey, will you come to our meeting? And call them up and say, will you come to our meeting? I called around the list for people once. But we went from having instead of just 2 or 3 people to having 10 to 15 routinely at our local county meeting. And I did my best to be nice to people. Others were reasonably nice, and if you're nice and invite folks, it seems to work. Finally, some guys who wanted to run for state legislature, and it hadn't been done in a long time in Georgia, so started getting on the ballot. But we had a guy who ran and did pretty well. I think it was a significantly high percentage, and he's kind of busy, and there was only 3 people last month. Once you cancel that meeting and post on it or totally cancel it, it gets really easy to cancel the next one as well. And suddenly 3 months have passed, and everyone's canceled.
party's over. To me, the most critical thing for sustaining a local organization is having meetings routinely at the same time and same place, month after month after month. Or if it's a quarterly meeting, make sure you do it every quarter, so that people who don't get your emails or don't read them or aren't paying close attention, when they do think to go, they knew it was at the library or that restaurant, whatever the case may be, and they go show up again.
Let's take, well, we'll get to all these questions in bits, because there were several of them already, and we stand being waived. What else one can do in general to strengthen the party? And one of the things one can do, we'll let folks make their own suggestions here, is what is known as moving the Overton window. Overton was some sort of political scientist, I can't tell you more about it than that. But the general idea was that there are a range of topics, positions on a topic that are sort of viewed as being politically acceptable. And then off to the fringes, there are other positions that are not at all viewed as being politically acceptable. And so once upon a time, I'm old enough to remember when the notion that the federal government should have a role in providing medical care to the elderly was entirely off the edge of the world. And then after considerable amount of debate, we eventually ended up with Medicare, which was based on Medicare A, basically, and Medicare B. And we have advanced, I guess that's the word, from there. But it's the important debate. Opposition